Thanks, Jason. And I indeed will try to focus on the autoimmune part of TRex, but since the presentation was originally meant for the full session, there is also some about Socando Select, about the autologous product. So you'll have to bear with me about
and you have to do it all in 10 minutes.
Okay. All right. So also forward-looking statement. So I think TRex, we're a European company indeed. We are a recent merger between TRex, and I think we were at that moment the largest cell therapy or self-standing cell therapy company in Europe. We merged with Celerix, which I think was at that time the number 2. So I think we can say we're in Europe the reference for this cell therapy, founded in 2000, but so since 2011, the two companies together. Quite a nice combination. TRex was focused on developing an autologous product for cartilage repair and got for this product the first and only so far approval in Europe through the EMA, so central approval for this autologous cartilage repair product, Socando Select. Approval as an ATMP in Europe. The cell therapy is regulated through the Advanced Therapies Medicinal Product Regulation. Was implemented beginning of 2009, and so we were the first product to be approved end 2009, and still the only one. So next, so that was the focus of TRex. The focus of Celerix, the company we acquired in 6 months ago now, was on allogeneic adipose-derived stem cells and focused on inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. I'll explain a bit more about that. So we are fully integrated, have our own manufacturing facility. In fact, we have right now 3 manufacturing facilities, one in Belgium, one in Spain, and now we're building the central one in the Netherlands to combine the 2 other ones, the large one. Headquarters in Belgium, R&D and operations and manufacturing, as I said, in Madrid, and this Sittard-Geleen facility is almost up and running. The construction is finished, but now the validation is ongoing. We're stock quoted in Brussels, and we have everything is relative, but a solid financial position. In the merger with TRex, we raised 33 million, and sort of that is the 20 million currently on the bank. So the portfolio. But in fact, we have the 2 mechanisms of actions in our company: the Socando Select autologous and clearly more a regenerative product, repairing cartilage by patient-owned cells and restoring tissue. And then the allogeneic platform, much more the trophic effect, the signaling, and the hit-and-run strategy, the cells coming in to reduce inflammation and have an immunomodulatory function. The most advanced product is the project to treat complex perianal fistulas in Crohn's disease, where we are entering, as we speak, phase 3 study. Phase 2 is done, we're entering phase 3. And then the next one, and I'll explain a bit more about it, the next one is, the Crohn's, that is a local injection and more inflammation reduction. And then we're with 611 and 621 going more into the autoimmune disorders. 611 is intravenous administration of the allogeneic stem cells, the adipose stem cells. And 621 is intranodal, injecting these cells directly into the lymph nodes. 611 is currently in phase 2, and 611 is starting phase 1 study. And then we have a preclinical program. In fact, both Celerix and TRex had a program preclinical in osteoarthritis. We're now comparing the notes, and we are merging these 2 programs into one preclinical program. So what is the plan? What is the roadmap? Clearly, with Socando Select, I think we can say that we have broken ground, that we have developed the product from an idea through the preclinical, clinical registration, and even now reimbursement and commercialization, showing that it's possible to develop such a product. And now, obviously, the focus for that is on commercialization. And then the next step is to leverage this experience, both in development and in the whole regulatory track, to the stem cell platform, bring these products to market also, at least to partnering opportunities, and then obviously with that come to the dream we all have, the fully sustainable company. So Socando Select, very briefly, it's autologous product. Starts with a biopsy that then is shipped to us. We have a manufacturing process about 4 to 5 weeks. We do a freezing step, and then the implantation happens by the orthopedic surgeon. So the cells are implanted together with a collagen membrane into the defect. So the indication is these large cartilage lesions of the femoral condyle of the knee. And as I said, it's the approved product in Europe. We have gone through the different clinical trials. The main trial, phase 3, was a randomized controlled trial comparing Socando Select to the standard of care microfracture. In the meantime, we have 5-year follow-up on these patients, on this 100, the trial was 118 patients. We have 5-year follow-up for that. And we have, yesterday, we have announced sort of results on a compassionate use program, 370 patients that we followed up over now a period of more than 2 years. Total 650 patients treated. And for the people interested, there's a set of publications that give the whole story about the different benefits of the product. What is ACI? Why cartilage implantation? What is the market? It's about 30,000 patients we estimate in Europe, probably similar in the US. There's much more, obviously, cartilage damage and cartilage injury, but then zooming down to the right indication where really these products make a difference, it's about this order of magnitude. We think it's about 3,000 patients currently being treated by these type of products, and obviously there's a lot of room to grow. One of the estimates by one of the research companies is that it will be like 12,000. So it is, in fact, a very niche indication, but that's also the beauty, I think, that we really have been able to zoom in on what is the indication where these product really matters. What we think is the driver, obviously this market in general is going to grow, but the key driver specifically for Socando Select is indeed that we have this approval, we have shown the benefit, we have the reimbursement set, and also in Europe now there is a transition period. Currently we still face competition from the non-approved products that were in the market before, but with the new regulation, end of 2012, this will end, and so then it will only be the products that have gone through the EMA that will stay in the market. So next is the stem cell platform, and I mentioned it already. The basis is adipose-derived, so it's starting from fat tissue, harvesting from a liposuction. From there, culturing cells, about 20-25 population doublings, going from one liposuction to 360 billion cells. So we can go to even 30,000 patient doses from that. And we're right now in sort of looking at different modes of administration, local and systemic, and that's the different trials I mentioned already. So the most advanced is this phase 3 study, or almost phase 3 study, in perianal fistulas, the phase intralesional, the phase 2 in rheumatoid arthritis, and then the starting phase 1 in other autoimmune diseases, where we're for the moment still in healthy volunteers and still figuring out which is the autoimmune indication where this really makes most sense. Why adipose-derived and allogeneic stem cells? First, the adipose-derived, what we see, first there's abundant supply, so that's relatively easy to get access to source material. Also, compared to the bone marrow-derived, we see there's more mesenchymal stem cell, 500 to 1,000 times more mesenchymal stem cells in the same volume of stromal fraction from fat tissue than from bone marrow. And we can indeed go to 36, misses an O, 360 billion cells from one donor. The data, safety, no toxicological findings. We indeed see also very rapid disappearance of the cells, a week, maximum 14 days they stay. No tumorigenicity after a lot of testing, and also no HLA matching needed, no immunosuppression needed, so the cells go under the radar screen of the immune system. And we start to see indeed both local and systemic effects, benefits, modulation of inflammation from Th1 to 2, and a long-term effect, which probably is due to the fact that TRex are being generated, and that indeed so the short-term effect is really the immune modulation, and then the longer-term effect, the TRex generation. The phase 3, ready to start, as I say. So these fistulas in Crohn's disease, it's very debilitating. It's an abnormal tract between the rectum and the outside, very seriously compromising the quality of life. About 50,000 patients in Europe, probably again similar in the US, about a $2 billion market there. We have for this product an orphan designation in Europe, applying for one in the US. We have phase 2 data in about 40 patients. Phase 3 starting, we got also financing for that recently, and so we expect first patients to enter in mid of 2012 there.
Great.
In RA, there is the trial that we started now mid of even Q1 2011, intravenous injection. The idea is not so much that this will be a product finally for RA, it's a very crowded field, but still RA as the model to test the immune modulating effect of these cells. The endpoints are well defined, the patient population well characterized. So it's systemic delivery, intravenous, of quite a doses of cells. We have shown good preclinical data there, and the phase 2 that we're in right now, it's about 55 patients, is a dose escalation. So a low dose, a medium dose, and a high dose. And it starts with a couple of patients that we have to test for safety only. Then we have to wait, and then we can go in the randomized phase. So we're in the randomized phase right now. And first, so we're already expecting first data in Q1 2012, and then the first half of 2013, the following data. And then the last one, I'll go very quickly, is what we saw in the preclinical model is that if you inject these cells intravenously, that they home to the site of inflammation. They also go to the lymph nodes. But also what we see is that about 85% disappears in the system, in the lungs, are washed out. So we then tried to test if we would bring these cells directly to the lymph nodes, what would be the effect? Preclinically, we see a better effect, or the same effect, but even with 1/20th of the doses. And so now we have gotten all the approvals to start a phase 1 study in healthy volunteers to do this, to inject the cells directly into the lymph nodes. We started the recruitment end of last year. And I think that's it. So the next step is the step to the fully sustainable business. We're not there yet, but I think 2011 we did a lot there with the merger, with the Socando Select reimbursement, with the phase 3, the phase 2, the phase 1.
So, TRex is exciting because clearly you're a commercial company. You know what it takes to actually get out there. When you did the analysis around periannual fistulas, how did the pharmacoeconomics play out for a cell therapy in that indication? What's the standard of care? I guess is it ultimately surgery for non-healing?
Yeah. So most of these patients are on anti-TNFs in general for their Crohn's indication. And then, in fact, there's very little that can be done, and it ends up mainly with surgery, with very mixed successes. So there is, in fact, not really a good standard of care, and many of these patients have for a very long time, or forever, these very debilitating condition.
So given the fact that this is an adipose, but it's allogeneic-derived product, what will be the control specifications on the product itself?
So in the controls, you mean for
a product, product release criteria?
It's the product release criteria on the classical ones, but there is also a potency assay. It's mainly related to, in fact, the main mechanism of action that we see, at least for the fistula product, for the local, is that these cells, when they're triggered by inflammation and will then secrete IDO. And IDO is the molecule, I can never remember the real name of it, that is also preventing in pregnancy that the baby that there is an immune reaction there.
Sure.
So inflammation triggers this reaction, and so IDO, for example, is one of the expression of IDO is one of the markers or the assays that there are quite others.
So the idea here is this would be a very potent, forgive the term, it's not meant to be insulting, but this would be a very potent form of cellular Advil delivered where it's needed to reduce the inflammation over a period of time long enough to allow the fistula to heal itself. Is that the idea?
That's indeed. And so the effect is local reduction of inflammation so that the natural healing can occur, because these fistulas are inflamed, and so the body can just not make the necessary healing without that.
And if you can establish proof of concept in anal fistulas, then it's a question of, well, can we go systemic and go to bigger and other indications related to inflammation? Is that the thought process?
Yes.
Okay, so that's pretty exciting. I mean, when people tell you that cell therapies are 10 years away, if you look at the work that TRex is doing, you can see that if you need to have your knee repaired and you're going to get a surgical implant, here you have an alternative to actually replace damaged cartilage. But now we're moving beyond that to all kinds of indications related to it. I hope we have time to come back and ask you some questions. So let's finish the panel.